the live class. So welcome to the parent meeting of winter 2023. This is the half of the school year for the first year of the Well-Educated Heart Academy. And I'm very, very grateful to have you here in attendance. And we are going to start with a presentation talking about the things that we have been able to accomplish, what has happened during this time, and what are the plans coming up for the next school year. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen with you. All right. And we'll start the presentation. Let's go and do the presentation here. There we go. Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay, now let me switch the settings. Okay, I need to do the switching of the screen. What are the see all slides? Let me see. There's one that actually toggles the display settings. Okay, so I present. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here we are. All right. So now this is the way that it should have started. Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm going to have here the panels open and everything so I can still see you. If I'm looking here at the presentation, I'm looking at the camera. When I'm looking at your video, it kind of looks a little skiwampas, but that is fine. All right. So if you have questions, you can also are welcome to type them in the chat. All right. So that will be also another way to help us communicate here. All right. So let me start by sharing what is the mission of the Well-Educated Heart Academy, okay? So our mission is we exist to serve homeschooling families worldwide to complement their homeschooling curricula by providing parents and youth with high quality middle and high school level courses and classes in the most challenging areas. Okay, we follow the Well-Educated Heart educational philosophy by having children and parents learn together through classical literature, integrated curriculum, and a Christian worldview. Okay, so this mission, basically, one of the things that we have to understand is we really want to follow the Well-Educated Heart philosophy that's said by Marlene Peterson, where we really want the families to continue learning together, okay? So sometimes when students grow up and they start getting older, the need for another mentor and the need to connect with other students is more keen, you know? And so that is why we are going to focus on offering middle school and high school level courses, all right? And our goal is not to replace your homeschooling. We want you to continue doing homeschooling with your older children in whatever areas you think that you are that you want to do. Okay. What we want here in our academy is to offer you the opportunity to take courses or to have your students take courses with us in those areas where you may need some more help, okay? And so that is kind of the idea of the Well-Educated Heart Academy, all right? These are some of the things that we have accomplished during this past 6 months, all right? It has been kind of a whirlwind, really, but we were really able to launch the academy in about 2 weeks. That was kind of incredible, really. We had in literally in 2 weeks, we had 8 informational webinars for parents and students. We were able to set up the website with membership and enrollment capabilities and set up the 3 courses with content, the schedules, and everything. And amazingly, we started classes on September 1st, right on a schedule and right on time. And we haven't missed a bit. We have been able to maintain the set schedule that we had. We had a fall parent meeting, and this was, I think, that in early October, something like that. We were able to also had 3 field trips, local field trips, and 1 online social activity. The field trips have been fantastic. And the last field trip that we did was this past Saturday. And that one we were able to record. So we are going to be sharing the recording of that field trip with all the families here in the academy. Okay. We have finished 20 weeks of school classes. Yeah. And Montserrat, Christina, Jessica, Marcy are some of the students here. Okay. And yes, you are doing amazing work here. All right. And we are ready now to start planning and expanding for the next school year. So that is the what we are trying to plan and keep doing. Okay. So far, any questions or comments? Okay. I always like to encourage the students, I ask, any questions, nothing happens, but it's okay. So we have a good time. So let's see the next slide here. Let me report to you about what we have done, okay, in attendance and progress. Marisa, you have a question?
I just have a comment.
Yes.
I am really, really glad and thankful that Jared is in the geometry class. I am so excited to hear what you're going to do next year because I definitely want Jared to be part of that. So thank you so far for everything.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Okay. So, so far, we have in these 3 classes that we are offering, we have geometry, biology, and physics. And let me share with you some of the information here about the courses. So the geometry course, we started with about 85 students. We have 60 students that are still actively participating in the class. Okay. They are completing assignments, participating in the live classes, watching the videos and everything. And let me tell you, this class is not for the faint-hearted. Okay, but I don't make any apologies for that, right? But I think that everyone, all the students and parents are having a great experience with this class. We finished this past week proposition 45 and 46 of the first book of Euclid. And 45 was the hardest, wasn't it? That was... So yeah, Jessica also. Yeah, that was a doozy. Okay, but we were able to successfully accomplish those propositions. We are still learning and having fun with that. The biology course, it's amazing. We started with 35 students. We have about 29 that are also actively participating in the class. And I have to tell you, the insights and things that we are learning and gaining from this biology course are amazing. Okay. Marcy is a parent and a student in the biology class, and the discussions really that we are having there are priceless, you know. So yeah, in physics, this was the class that was the lowest enrollment, okay, but we still have 18 students actively participating in the class. So all in all, if you combine all of these, we have 74% of the students are still progressing. I have to tell you, this is amazing in the environment of online learning, okay? To have only really a 26% attrition rate is fantastic, okay? This is really not common at all in online classes. So I don't know exactly how it is or why it is, but we have been very, very blessed on that. All right. Andrea is asking if there are labs in the science classes and how does that work. In the science classes, both in biology and physics, we are using a software called Labster. That is a lab simulation software. It's actually very, very high fidelity lab, okay? So this software really allows the students to do labs as if they were in a laboratory. You know, they have to do exactly the same things that they would do in a real lab. And so that is one of the ways that they are doing lab work. We are also doing some very interesting lab work in the classes themselves. Okay, so for example, in biology, we have done, what are the things that we have done in biology? Help me out to remember. I remember yogurt, okay, how to make yogurt from scratch. What was the other thing so far that we have done? Marcy, help me out. Okay, Marcy, put there in the chat, making butter, yogurt, and sauerkraut. Okay, so really practical labs. All right, so these are all integrated into the area of biology and organic chemistry and learning to do that. We haven't done the sorrow bread yet. Okay, so we are getting into that when we study about yeast and fungi. We are going to do sourdough starters. Okay, so those are some of the things coming up. Okay,
enough still. We have more.
There we go. Okay, all right. So that is the progress that I have to report here for the classes. These are the plans that we have for next year. Okay, so in general terms, this is what we are planning on doing. We want to expand the offering of courses. We want to invite new teachers to come to the academy. We want to invite more families and students to participate in the courses. And also, we want to do more field trips. These field trips are really purposeful field trips. Okay, we don't want to do kind of wishy-washy field trips. Here, the field trips are really with purpose and with a lot of focus. Okay. And so I would like to introduce to you, okay, a couple of our new teachers that we are inviting to join for next school year, Mr. Rule Heyman and Mr. Andy Heyman. They are brothers, okay, so that is why they share the same last name. So we are going to call them Mr. Rule and Mr. Andy. Okay. So, um, Mr. Rule is in Hawaii. Okay. Not fair.
Sorry.
Not fair, but he's enjoying the Hawaii atmosphere. So, tell us about yourself, Mr. Rule.
I would love to. First and foremost, a well-educated heart is at the foundation of my educational philosophy. I've known Marlene Peterson. Of her, I've spoken with her. Very grateful for the work she does. It's interesting that I love old books, and so does my brother. In fact, he's a master at finding any book online in a PDF form that no one knows where they are. He's really good at that. But I grew up on the East Coast in the state of Virginia. Went to school here in Utah. Came out here married a Utah girl. I live in Utah. I've been teaching at American Heritage. It's a private school in American Fork, Utah. Taught on campus there through COVID, and then I was involved with Dr. Pablo in the creation of the AHS online program. So I've been teaching online for the last 3 years. I also teach for a charter school, original sources in history, government, and so forth, for a charter school in Northern California. But so I teach, and I teach different homeschooling families, and I run humanitarian trips. I've taken youth all over the world, to Guatemala, to Jordan, to Peru, Samoa. We're working on a trip to Samoa. We're doing Guatemala over spring break. I've taken students to Mexico, to Nepal, and to Africa. And we would love to incorporate some of these projects and humanitarian purposes into the work that we do. Dr. Pablo, of course, is from Argentina, and I'm sure there are opportunities there as well. But I love to support and defend moms and dads and babies. That basically the home is the salvation of this world. Mothers, frankly, according to Tolstoy and other great men and women, mothers are the salvation not only of men, but of the world, meaning we need to support the parents in the home doing what God would have them do. So I'm very, very excited. Can I just mention something really, Dr. Pablo? Is Marlene Peterson, I've been watching her course and listening. She really emphasizes history, and I should have incorporated, we could teach history classes as well. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even incorporate that, but so grateful to be here. I'm excited to be a part of this movement, and I'm grateful for Dr. Pablo for inviting me.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Andy, Mr. Andy, would you like to introduce yourself, please? Mm-hmm.
Sure. Sure. My name's Andy Hammond. I too grew up in Virginia, right alongside Rule. We have had a wonderful father that taught us about the importance of history and reading the classics. We spent a lot of time doing that. And in fact, he was a librarian. So he instilled that knowledge and desire in us. I've had a longing. I too began the course, Marlene's course, and she talks about a longing and something that she didn't quite understand what her purpose was and what she was preparing for, but she was doing it anyway. And I'm kind of in the same boat right now. Currently I'm an IT supervisor, working for the county that I live in Northern California. But several years back, I read the book 7 Habits for Highly Effective People, and it's changed my life. Not just the habits themselves, but to find a better purpose than IT. I have staff that I meet with every other week, and we talk about the principles of these habits and other books. And I find that it's almost like sharing the gospel, because these are eternal principles. And I find that many of these men and women that I work with do not have a concept of the principles that we discuss. And yet it seems to be opening up their world, opening up their imagination a little bit, because they're husbands and fathers, wives and mothers, and they see the potential of these discussions that we have. And what I found is that brings more meaning to my life than what I do with IT. I'm excited to work with Dr. Pablo also and with this academy to find a little more purpose in my own life, um, to share these things that I've been learning with students. I wrote in my I did a PowerPoint kind of about the class that I want to teach, and it's, to me, it's the things I wish I would have learned, someone would have taught me as a youth. So those are the things I want to share with them, so they can be the great leaders, even in their own time, even in their own space, wherever they are right now, and not wait until they're in their 50s like I am.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mhm. All right, let me go back here to the presentation. All right. And let's see. So that is kind of what are the plans. I'm going to show you a little more about one of the things that we are planning on doing this next year is to offer the classes that we already have done, that we have recorded classes. We are going to offer them in a different format. So both classes are going to be with a live class format, okay, which is basically what we are doing this year. The students have access to the course content, a 32-week-long school year from September to May. We have 1 hour per week of a live online class and 1 hour a week of online study time, okay? So immediately following. So it's really a kind of like a 2-hour class time that we have to study together. We have also weekly lessons and assignments and personal feedback and coaching. And for the classes that I have already taught this year, where we have a recorded session of the live class, we are going to offer those classes also kind of as an independent study course, okay? The students will have access to the course content, have access to the pre-recorded, edited class videos. So it's not just the raw class video, but we are working with a team of my family to do the editing of these videos. Okay, one of my sons is actually a professional videographer, and so he's helping me with that. And so the students will be able to, not only watch the lessons, the videos of the lessons, but also watch the videos of the classes. They also will have weekly assignments and personal feedback and coaching. And we are planning also to make additional one-on-one coaching time available. So if students or families want to sign up for that, that will be also another modality of doing these courses. So the best place, the best way really to take the course, I believe, is this modality of having the live class. Okay, the live class is more engaging. It allows the students to have a chance to participate and ask questions, and get answers and collaborate live. All right. But, the problem is that many times a course may be offered at a time that is not convenient for the student to attend the live class, and they still want to do the class. And so that is why we are offering this independent study modality, and it's going to be more economical. Okay, so there's going to be a price difference between one and the other, okay, because we recognize that, the students taking the course here independently, even though they are still getting feedback and personal coaching, they are not participating on the live class, okay? So that is kind of the difference. We can only do this for those courses where we have already taught them and have the recording of the classes. Okay, so does that make sense about that? This additional one-on-one coaching time, we have, I have done tutoring. In fact, tutoring was my first job ever, okay? And I started doing tutoring in college before my mission to my peers and friends, okay? They told me, I'm paying this private tutor a ton of money, and whenever we get together to study, you explain the things here in accounting and economics a lot better than the tutor, so I'm going to hire you. So that is kind of how the business started that way. And since then, I have been doing this for a long, long time. So during this past semester, in fact, one family approached me and they asked me to see if I could do some tutoring for their daughter that was preparing to take a chemistry final, okay? And so we arranged some time, and pretty much in about 2 hours of tutoring, she was able to understand all the main concepts that she was not catching and everything, and she passed her final, okay? So that is also another thing that we want to offer to families and students. So these are the plans of the courses that we are planning to do. So for the next course, the next school year, I am going to offer again the geometry, biology, and physics, depending upon demand, of course, okay, however many students and families sign up. And then I would like to develop one more course, okay? So developing a new course is a lot of work, all right? So I'm going to develop one new course, and it will be either chemistry, a follow-up on geometry, kind of doing the second part of geometry. I see there Emma smiling. Okay, salivating already. So, or anatomy and physiology. This is also a fantastic science course. Or we can do number theory or algebra. So we are going to have a poll that is going to open pretty soon. I think that almost now is going to open on the website. And I'm going to ask you to actually vote on which one of these courses we should develop, okay, for next year. There is a question on what is number theory, okay? Well, so number theory is the beginning of arithmetic, all right? So it is kind of, one of the most basic parts of mathematics, but it's actually incredibly useful and very important to understand the principles of number theory. So if we develop this course of number theory, again, we are going to start right from the beginning, okay? It's going to be a very classical approach to number theory, and go all the way to some of the most advanced topics in number theory, including cryptography, and a lot of things that are now used in computer science, okay, really. So that is what number theory is about. So sounds good? Does that answer the question? Okay, great. So what prerequisite knowledge is needed for number theory and algebra? So for number theory is basically the capacity to read and write and be willing to reason very hard, okay? So really in all these courses, I always try to start from the beginning. And okay, and so if a student has the enough background to do basic arithmetic, the basic facts and so on, that is a good beginning point for each one of the courses. Of course, except for this geometry 2. The prerequisite for geometry 2 obviously is geometry 1. Okay, because we are going to finish geometry 2, geometry 1 at the end of book 4 of Euclid. Okay, and so geometry 2 is going to start with book 5. All right, and see how far we go in that one. But the fun never ends with Euclid, doesn't it? So yes. So that is kind of the idea. So the question is, will the algebra class be equivalent to algebra 1 or 1 and 2? I don't know. All right. So I'm still trying to find a good classical algebra textbook. So that is still my hope. So this is what happens. Really, at the time of Sputnik, okay, in the mid 60s, early 60s, when Sputnik happens, there was a big change in math education. And math education became very, very focused on computation, all right? And so students and the curriculum changed to focus on teaching algebra and calculus in order for students to compute things, okay, and be able to calculate things, because that is what was needed for the space race, for the information age, and so on. But along the way, what happened is that we lost completely the focus on understanding why, how these things actually work. What is the meaning behind these algebraic formulas and so on? And so I really want to see if I can find a classical algebra book that is going to take us back to a more, traditional way of teaching and learning algebra. Does that make sense? Okay. So that is what we are planning on doing if I'm doing algebra. Okay, so a lot depends on demand and on if I can find the resources for that. So Marisha is asking, this year you recommended that each student take only one class per year. Will you still be recommending that? Could one student take more than one class? Okay. That is a tough question to answer. So the purpose of our academy is not to substitute all of your homeschooling. Okay. And you know how much time one of my classes takes. Okay. So Jared is doing extremely well. He's doing really well. That is the Stuart's student. But it takes time. All right. And so my expectation is that the students are going to, be able to put the time. All right. So I still probably recommend that the students take one of my classes. Okay. But we are very blessed to be able to have Mr. Rule and Mr. Andy that are going to help us out with that. Okay. So in here, these are the classes that Mr. Rule Heyman is proposing to teach. And these are, you know, we have 6 classes here, 6 courses proposed. And we are probably going to have him teach this first year 3, not the 6, but 3 of those. All right. And so, whichever 3 we are going to do will depend mostly on your vote. Okay. We are going to have a poll now, and being able to vote on that and what would be your preference on these courses. So Mr. Andy is proposing to teach this course on leadership skills for life. And this is the course description of the course. Mr. Andy, would you like to tell us a little bit, you know, in about 2-3 minutes more about your course? Mm-hmm.
Sure. Basically, the journey that I've been on personally for 3 or 4 years seems to be something that everyone is yearning for in some degree. And that's what I find in the people that I supervise. As I said, we meet and we talk about these things, their life as a father or as a mother, husband, and a wife. So my job as a supervisor is to help them be successful in life, not just, this is the way I see it, in life, not just at work. Mm-hmm. And so sharing the ideas of books like The 7 Habits, Atomic Habits, authors like Simon Sinek, that bring a different value to this world that has lost. As the books, the classics used to teach these things, and now our world is a little bit different. So trying to, and that's why I'm really big on the classics and finding those books that have been forgotten. But these are the things, as I write here, that I would love to have learned as a youth. And I think presenting these in a way that tie into the stresses and the difficulties and the life of a youth of our day, I think these could really, really help. And not only for this time, but as they go forward into college, as they go into their own business or in their own employment, they can use these same skills as a parent, as a husband or a father. They can use these things with their neighbor, with their coworkers. It's just about being a better person, and it starts with yourself. Mm-hmm. Not fixing yourself, but recognizing your personal responsibility. That being able to look in the mirror and have that conversation, not based on what the world thinks, but based on the values that you've decided you want to follow, and create goals that are based on those values, and keeping that foundation so you reach those goals, and you become, no matter your position in employment or your business, you become a leader. People will see you as someone they want to emulate. And by having these discussions, using lots of examples of the classics, the great leaders throughout history, I think could be a really wonderful class. A lot of discussion, I think.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me address a couple of questions that are in the chat. Okay, and then I'm going to give the time to Mr. Rule to describe about the classes that he's offering. One of the questions is, would number theory need to be taken before algebra? Actually not. Okay, so that is kind of the beauty of starting from the beginning, is that there are several beginnings. Okay, and so these courses will be, you know, always going to the basics. Okay, and starting from there and being able to move that way. Okay. Danielle asks, is there a placement test or anything to see if a student is ready to be successful in your courses? No, I don't have a placement test. the most important and higher predictor of actually success in these courses is how much desire the student has in wanting to take the course. Okay, that is really the key. All right. The prerequisites, I guess, that are being able to read and write, okay, and think, all right. The courses are not a picnic, but they are not impossible, all right. In fact, in the geometry course, now this year, we have Kyron Powell, that is 9 years old. Emma, isn't that right? Okay. You know, Kyron is not here because he's in Germany, so it's the middle of the night, okay, for him. But Emma, tell us a little bit about Kyron's progress in the course and his participation in the course.
Mm-hmm. Me?
Yes.
Okay. I personally am just really impressed by him because he's kept up really well. Like, I think he's right up with the week that we're on. He's really enthusiastic, and he understands it really well, which I think is really impressive considering that he is only 9. And the determination that he's all the way in Germany and does this class, like, I'm really impressed that he is able to keep up with us.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Okay. So, you know, and the interesting thing is that if he doesn't get one of the propositions or constructions correctly, he keeps doing it until he gets it. Okay. You know, so it's really, really something. So that I think that is the most important thing. Okay. And you know, if a student is not willing to do the work, there is nothing I can do about it, okay? There's very, very little that I can do, okay? I can motivate and so on, but, you know, being online, not having a physical presence, and also, you know, we have to remember that these are homeschooling courses, so we are not necessarily grading or, you know, doing tests. It's really all for the love of learning. And those who do it, they are, I think, having a great time. Okay. So that is kind of the same thing for the answer for Tina's question about would a 6th grader be ready for maybe the physics course? The physics course is very basic. It starts really with the basics. So it is actually very accessible to students. Biology, I would probably say that is more at the high school level, okay? The anatomy and physiology course, if I develop that one or when I develop that one, I'm planning on doing that more at the middle school level, okay? But, you know, if you know me, middle school means kind of like high school, and high school means more like college, okay? So, you know how that goes. So, yeah, you know, but again, I think that you can do it, and the students are successful here. Something is beeping in the background. Yeah, I think that there was someone that was unmuted here. Is algebra used in the physics class? My son has already taken a typical middle school level physics and is looking for the next level. So again, like I mentioned before, this physics class is kind of on the basic side. So we are starting really at the beginning. And because of my philosophy, we are not focusing on calculations. We are not focusing necessarily on doing a lot of math in physics. We are more focused on learning the concepts of physics and trying to see how they apply in real life instead of doing a lot of math. So there's no math prerequisite for the physics class. Of course, that an understanding of algebra is useful and is always welcome, but it's not necessarily a prerequisite. Okay. Let me see. I think that I'm caught up with the questions. They are in the chat. I'm going to share the screen again and go to the next part of the presentation. Okay, Mr. Rule, can I have you speak very briefly to your courses, okay? And the proposal for these courses, okay? So I'll move the slides as you go through.
Right. So one thing I've been focusing a little bit on Marlene Peterson's course today, and she mentions the importance of history. Just recognize any of these courses could become more historical as needed, as parents desire. But this is an American government economics course. It takes you literally from the King James Version of the Bible, or just the Bible itself, and the concept of covenant theology and the moral basis of society. And I just gave you a snippet there of some of the readings we would do in that area. And then we would go just kind of a progression through the Natural Rights Doctrine, the Declaration, Constitution writing, U.S. Constitution, Federalist Papers, going into the ratification of the Constitution. And it continues some of the major principles: federalism, representation, separation of powers, and using checks and balances. Kind of, again, the unique parts of the American experiment. And then we would jump into the crisis of slavery, the challenges that faced the progressive movement in the late 1800s that would lead us into the liberal movement of the 1960s and on and so forth. The idea here is for students to go to original sources, to fall in love with the principles of the founding, and to be able to critically understand the beginning from the end of the American government experience. Economics, now, this is one that I'm going to incorporate different things from Harry Hazlitt on economics in one lesson. We're going to look at fiat money inflation in France. It's not going to be a math-based economics. It's going to be principle-based, and basically the history of how money works. And ultimately the challenges nations have faced in the past, what we're facing today, what are the solutions, and so forth. So that's that course. Next one. This is basically a world history course, but it's through the story of liberty. And we would look at, from the Magna Carta, actually we go even earlier to Fox's Book of Martyrs, from the Stephen being stoned in the New Testament, all the way up to the Magna Carta, the founding of America. We'd go through the Reformation, we'd go through Gutenberg. Basically, how liberty has passed from generation to generation. We'd be looking at Russell Kirk's The Roots of American Order. This is a lot of fun. It is so exciting to meet men and women, hundreds, if not thousands of men and women that would not go against conscience as they work to preserve liberty from generation to generation. So this is going to be a really wonderful class, lots of great readings, great discussions, great field trips. It's never ending. Next one. Spanish 1. I'm actually teaching Spanish 1 online right now, and I'm realizing, Dr. Pablo speaks Spanish. He speaks English better than I do. He speaks Spanish better than I do. He speaks biology better than, anyway, we'll stop there. but the point is, I think I've discovered a way to teach Spanish online that students actually learn more than in a classroom. At least my experience in classroom instruction. If I were to teach in the classroom, I would incorporate much of what I'm doing now. But it's basically, they're translating daily from classics. I'm taking classic literature, books they're familiar with, and translating into Spanish so they can learn Spanish through the books they love. We do reading every day. They record their pronunciation, their comprehension. I give them feedback, so their videos going back and forth. We do a lot of cultural, historical understandings. Now, granted, it's an hour a week, but you'd be surprised what we can do in that hour. And then the weekly assignments, they really fall in love with the culture, the people, the language. We'll use Hans Christian Andersen's stories from The Ugly Duckling to The Princess and the Pea. Aesop's Fables and other classics. And then ideally we do fundraising throughout the school year, and we go to Guatemala or Argentina or a Spanish speaking country as part of our class to experience that in person. Okay, next. Now this one is awesome. Oh my word, this will change your life. You're familiar with the 5,000 year leap. The principles are eternal, but we would take these principles and we would dive into history and current events so they can see what the principle is, what the founders were thinking, and then how it applies to their lives right now. We live in a time where we desperately need young men and women that understand these principles. And when you do, you literally do. It may not be a 5,000 year leap, but you will make a leap and you'll be in a position to defend moms and dads and babies, because that's really what's under attack right now. Okay, next one. Oh, near and dear to my heart. Oh my word. Eliminating internal poverty. I was in Africa one time, and one of my best friends there, we were talking about how you can't take the struggle away from somebody. When you take away the struggle, they become dependent and they lose the ability to take care of themselves. And he said, Rule, don't you know that 60% of poverty is inside the person? Don't you know that? I was standing around a square foot garden in Guatemala, and a guy asked my students the question, what is poverty? And they said, not having enough food, not having enough money, not having clean water, no air conditioning. And he said, you want to know what people in poverty say poverty is? It's embarrassment, it's shame, it's hopelessness, it's despair. So the goal of this class is to not only understand the internal poverty struggles we have within ourselves, we will go to the best books, look at what's happening in the United Nations 2030 agenda. I helped write a book that we will study on the importance of family capital, tackling all 17 sustainable development goals of the UN 2030 agenda. Theirs is big government, ours is family. We'll use Up from Slavery, Uncle Tom's Cabin, The Narrative and Life of Frederick Douglass, To End All Wars, The Tragedy of American Compassion. And then again, ideally, maybe this can coincide with our Spanish class humanitarian trip, or we do a separate one here. And we would have an opportunity to go and serve somewhere, whether it be in the United States or out of country. Is there another one, Dr. Pablo?
Yep.
I keep forgetting how many there are.
Yeah, we put 6. I put you just down for 6, and I'm limiting you to 3. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
for now.
This one we would start from Federalist Paper 78 and Brutus 11, Anti-Federalist and the Federalist arguing for the Supreme Court, and the whole purpose of it, we would look at a variety of different cases, particularly some of the more modern cases, looking again at how the Supreme Court decisions have affected value and worth in our society, our mores, our morals, our happiness. Laws must promote virtue. Everything's moral. I mean, every law is moral or it's amoral. I mean, there's no such thing as it either moralizes people or it demoralizes people. What is the role of the courts? What have the decisions done? Now, this could be a year-long course. We could do it a half year. Dr. Pablo and I can talk about that. There's enough content for as long as we want to go. But this is actually going to be a really interesting one, especially since the Supreme Court seems to be the last word on anything in our country right now.
Excellent.
How's that, Dr. Pablo?
Fantastic. Okay,
now,
I want to take all of them also.
and again, if parents would like just a basic American history, I mean, nothing's basic, but an American history course, we could do that as well. It is very, very exciting.
Yeah, and so by the way, so all these courses are open to young students and more mature students. Okay.
And I can adapt it. I teach middle schoolers and high schools right now.
Yeah,
I know the differences.
And the thing is, this past year, during this current year, we have really found an experience that having adult learners together with the younger learners it works just fine. Okay.
Could I share something on that, Dr. Pablo?
Yes.
I teach a homeschooling group right now of about 25 to 30 kids, and they're aged from 11 to 16. And today we just went through the Rights of the Child Convention, the United Nations. We went through basically the, heavier, not heavy, but more academic topics, but we do it in a way that I had younger kids sharing their thoughts, 10 years old, 11 years old. These are some bright, amazing kids. So yeah, we can make it work for just about any age.
Yeah, excellent. So, about the question about, can the students take more than one course? Yes, okay, but you need to be judicious on that, all right? Because we don't want to hurry education, okay?
No.
We want education to be enjoyable, all right? And so imagine if you sign up for many courses, what happens is that the students have less time to enjoy any particular course, and everything then starts becoming more like a chore, and we don't want that really. We want to preserve the joy of learning for each one of the students. Okay, does that make sense? All right. So let me share, let me share the screen again and tell you what we need to do now, what we need to do next. So the next slide here in the presentation is just the question and answer. So we are going to leave that, okay, for a second. Let's see. Think I need to escape here. Okay, what I need you to do now is to go, when you can, go to the Well-Educated Heart, okay? That is the website where we have our courses, all right? I'm going to put the link in the chat again to share with everyone. If you don't have an account already in our website, scroll to the bottom and choose to create a free account for you, all right? You will need one account for you as a parent and a separate account for the students, all right? So don't sign up for courses now because the courses are for this school year. We will let you know when the next courses are available. But just sign up for the free account, okay? And you should be able to see in the home page that there are some polls available, okay? So I have 3 polls that are available for you to vote. So in the one that is at the bottom, it asks, which new class should Dr. Pablo develop for the next school year? Okay, so vote for one, because I'm only going to develop one of these, okay? So, but you think about which one would my student like to take, all right? And you can vote for that. I'm still going to do biology. I'm still planning on offering the geometry course again and physics also. But I'm masochist and I'm going to develop one more course, okay, at least this next year. So that is the first vote. The second one is to vote, so which one of Mr. Rule's classes would be your top choice to enroll in next school year? Okay. Sadly enough, the poll only allows me to put 5 choices here, all right? And so I had to put the other course and the leadership course in a separate poll, okay? So if you would like to enroll in one of these classes, you can vote, for one of these or one of these, okay? So again, this is to help us decide where the demand is in order to know where to put our development efforts for next year. It takes a lot of time and effort on that, okay? Can you vote more than once if you have multiple children with different preferences? Okay, so I don't know if you can vote more than once. Okay, I create these polls and I don't know how they work on your side. Okay, if that makes sense. So, but if you have multiple children, what you can do is you create one account for you with your email, and then create a free account. Okay, create a free account for each one of your children with their emails. Don't mix up emails, please. Okay, let's keep the emails straight, because the email is what is your account. All right, so that is what we can do. And so if you do that, then you will be able to vote more than once. Okay, does that make sense? All right. So let's see the next question. I missed the first part of the presentation. What ages are classes going to be? I have a 13-year-old this year. Anything for that age? So the classes, all the classes are geared towards middle school and high school students. Okay. Again, the main requisite, the main requirement for the student is not a particular age or a particular background, is really the desire to learn. Okay, so if they want to learn, they are welcome. If they want to learn, nothing will stop them. Okay, if they don't want to learn, probably this is not going to work very well, to be sincere, you know. So that is kind of the idea behind this. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so now we go really to the question and answer part of the meeting. Okay, the stewards, you have your hand raised. You know how to do this.
Yeah,
good job.
I wanted to say, you've mentioned a couple of times that if the student doesn't want to learn, they're not going to learn, and that's pretty true. I agree with you. But I wanted to say that when I enrolled Jared, he was not very enthusiastic about it. He doesn't want me to tell you that, but now this is his favorite class. Just want you to know that. So I think that they can be turned around a little if you help them, I guess, and if you have a great teacher. I think that that goes a long ways, even though, I mean, because I think that kids sometimes get into the rut of feeling like it's all boring and I don't want to do that, you know, but it really can be changed if you require it. I mean, I required Jared to do it. I didn't ask him, do you want to do this? He did not want to do it. But I just said, this is part of your schooling, you're doing it. And now he loves it. I think it has a lot to do with your teaching style and your communication style, and your positivity has helped him a lot. So I really just saying.
Can I add to that really quickly? Dr. Pablo is so well beloved everywhere he goes. He's one of my heroes. He's a Thomas Jefferson of our age. He really is.
No.
He can teach all of the classes that I'm offering. He could teach on his own. So he's very generous to share. No, but you're absolutely right. Young men and women that are not excited about learning, I'm telling you, if you put them in with a teacher in a topic, you give them a chance just to feel it, it'll change everything. So I'm really glad that you basically said what I believe a good teacher like Dr. Pablo can change hearts really quickly.
Thank you for the kind words. And you know, Jared is really doing very, very well. Okay, so I am so happy to hear about that, and that is always my joy, is to see the students progressing and being enthusiastic about learning. That is fantastic. Genevieve?
My question is just about teacher feedback. I don't know. This is my child's first class, not with me ever. So I might just be a little bit possessive of their interaction with other mentors. But I was just wondering, as far as all the teachers went, what is their philosophy and approach to how students are doing, just so that the parents know if they're, I don't have any clue if she's getting it or not, or you know, how things are going with her in the class, which I think she really prefers. So maybe we should do it that way, but I'm just wondering on that point.
Great question here. You know, so this is what I have been doing so far for feedback with the students. When the students turn in their assignments, I review them, I read them, and I give them personal feedback. Okay. Most of the times, the students are doing very good work, okay, like Kiara, and turning in their assignments and so on, and making great progress. So that is, you know, kind of how the feedback goes. All right. If the students turn in their assignments a few weeks late, okay, then it's harder for me to give them personal feedback, okay, because I'm you know, kind of very busy. I have also tried to reach out through emails to the students and the parents when the student is missing the class. Okay, so if the students are missing a couple of classes in a row, usually I try to send out an email or a chat message. And if I have the information about the parents, I send them also to the parents that way. But if the students are doing well in the class, they are progressing and everything, I haven't been able to do a lot more feedback than that. Okay, so I wish I could send more often communications to that. So yes, Genevieve, no news is good news in this case. Okay, so far, you know. So, Rule, what do you like to add to this?
Yeah, I would like to just add. I understand. You know, I'm so often, again, parents are the last to know, and that's a little frustrating for sure. I think it's from a general standpoint, you want to communicate with moms and dads. So when I communicate with the students, I typically add the parents in the conversation so they know what's happening. And with parents that are especially concerned, or they're just, you know, they're trying to figure out, they're maybe weaning their child from them, and that's not an easy thing to do. You want to trust the person that your child's with. Then you let the mentor know, could you give me feedback? And that way, you know, Dr. Pablo, Mr. Andy, Mr. Rule, we would write it down, and any issue or any concern, we would let you know as best we can. I mean, there are a lot of students for sure, but there are not that many that you can't really focus on the one, and particularly helping the parents be comfortable and be included. So does that help a little bit?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The squeaky wheel gets the oil, right?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I have been doing since about late November, December is I'm now actually taking attendance in the classes. Okay. So as the students come in the class, I'm keeping track of who is in class and who is missing the class. And that is now enabling me to be able to email the students and know, you know, that better. Okay. Give feedback that way. Mm-hmm. So I wish that we had a better software to communicate with the parents more easily. And we are looking into that, but maybe this year we will not change our platform at this point. We'll see. Mm-hmm.
Pablo, one last thing really quickly is parents need to understand that we are in support of moms and dads. We're not here to replace them. We're not here to intrude. We're here to support. You're delegating a portion of authority to us, and we take that very, very seriously. And so anything we can do to make you more, so you will be comfortable and at peace and informed, we will do our very best.
Excellent. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The stewards?
I have a question about, I really like the atmosphere of the classes, and so I wouldn't want that to change necessarily. Sorry, my dog is excited right now. But I just was curious if, I went to public schools and I grew up in public schools, and I don't want my children going to public schools at all, just gonna say that. But one thing that I was wondering is, in your opinion, is the classes are not graded and there's not a lot of pressure on them, because I remember there being a lot of pressure if I didn't get things in on time. Same with college. I did go to college as well, and I love that there's not the pressure involved, but yet at the same time, when they get into the real world and they have jobs, there's going to be more pressure. I'm just wondering if, in your opinion, if getting a grade and losing points if your assignment's in late, or if you don't attend class, you lose points, stuff like that, if that really helps kids learn better. I mean, that's how public schools are and colleges. But I like the way it is, actually. I think it's good for us. I love it, actually. So I'm just wondering if there's benefits to that.
Yeah. Excellent question. Okay. And, just not only for clarification, but, people call me Dr. Pablo. I'm a doctor in instructional science. So this area of education is really my profession and my passion. Okay, I'm not a medical doctor. I always tell that to my biology students, especially. So, but this is actually very, very interesting that you ask that. I have done both. Okay. And I think that the students are learning more in this environment without the pressure of grades or tests, because they are doing it of their own volition, really. They are I have done the same classes, the biology and the geometry course and the physics course for AHS online, and the content is exactly the same. The assignments are the same. The only difference is that in the other courses, we had tests at the end of each quarter. And we had grades for every assignment that the students did, okay? And the difference was very, very stark on the, on the level of involvement that they had, okay? The other students, they were more, they did more things, okay? But I don't know that the learning was that much better, really. And so I think that the grades add another dimension that may be more, holding the students more accountable. But I think that is still a very artificial accountability that is not necessarily healthy. Okay. And so I see that the students now in these courses are less stressed, but they are still learning a lot that way. Okay. So, that is kind of how I see it. Rule?
Wonderful question. Age-old question. I love it. A student convinced against her will is of the same opinion still. So whether it be by points or grades, when I have students that I can tell they're just not into it, not excited, I pull them aside. I say, can we just visit? Or even before that, I find out who they are, what they're about, what they love, why are they in the class? Are they there because their parents want them to be there? Are they there because they're generally interested? So if I can understand their struggle, then I can tailor my teaching to, I have a friend of mine teaches at a private, well, it's a public school in America, in Provo, Utah. And he had a student, in a freshman year, they always write a little essay about why they're taking the class. And this kid just basically wrote, I hate learning. I hate being told what to do. I don't want to be in school. I love horses. And so this teacher, they were teaching the Scarlet Letter. Well, the Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne doesn't have horses, right? So he took the student aside. He gave him a copy of, oh my goodness, Louis L'Amour. Oh, it just slipped my mind. The young man that crosses the desert, crosses the United States, goes to California, Lonesome Gods. Mm-hmm. And he said, I want you to read this book. There are a lot of horses in there. Well, the boy read it. He said to his mom, this is the first time a teacher has ever given me something I'm interested in. And he went back and he said, Mr. So-and-so, I read the book. And he said, okay, I want you to read it again. This time I want you to notice everything about education in there, the importance of learning and reading great books. So he wrote a whole paper on it. And then, you know, I say to my students when I teach the example, is this young man ready for Nathaniel Hawthorne? Maybe not. Maybe he needs to read Little Britches. Maybe he needs to read The Virginian first. But the goal here is to win the hearts and the consent of the student to the best of our ability. Now, there are some students that the timing in life, the pain in their hearts, the challenges at home, whatever it might be, get in the way of that. But most students, if they know you absolutely love them and you love the topic you're teaching and you're willing to throw things at them that they're not really, you know, they didn't think anyone would even care because I know something about them, I'm going to incorporate that in my teaching. It can change the way they look at education. And like Dr. Pablo said, they actually learn more. It's not about getting through the course or the content. The content goes through them. And that's our goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I love this comment in the chat, okay, by Melanie Hoem. It says, reminds me of a YouTube TED Talk video by Mark Rover. He did an experiment and people that lost meaningless points when they made a mistake ended up giving up earlier, trying fewer times to succeed, and found the solutions to the problem less often. Okay. And I really think that that is actually very replicable in other environments, and also in my classes I have seen that type of behavior. So yeah, so we are going to continue. I think that the best thing to ensure accountability is partnership. Okay. So write this one down if you want. The best insurance for accountability is partnership between you and us. Okay. All right. So if a student is sharing with you the assignments, okay, that is a way to have accountability. All right. If you can ask them about what they are learning, to show them what for them to show you what they are learning and doing in the classes. Okay. If you see that they are struggling in some areas, communicate with the teacher, with us. We are always ready to listen and work together. Again, we work for you, not the other way around. Okay, we are really here for you all the way. Mm-hmm. Carrie, I think that you had your hand raised before. Do you have a question? Did you get tired of holding up your digital hand there?
No, I just, some of the earlier comments just had me thinking about our own experience. My daughter is dyslexic, and she had a very, very bumpy beginning of her first couple years of education because we didn't know. And by all qualifiers, she's below grade level, right? In just about everything. But she's smart as a whip. It's just hard. And it's just been incredible to see, like, even just writing her notes, you're not picking on her spelling, which is not perfect, but she is also motivated to improve her spelling so that you can understand her notes. And so overall, it's just been, for parents who are concerned, is it going to be too hard or my kid's going to learn or anything else like that, it's just been a positive experience all the way around.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Kizzy is fantastic, really. I would not have guessed that she had any trouble, really. So really, that is the type of grit that I love seeing in the students. So fantastic, excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that, Carrie. Appreciate it. Marcy put here in the chat. Let me read this. I've been so thrilled by the way this approach of no grades has reinforced what I have tried to teach my children about how all real learning comes from within. I see my two children who are taking both a class with the Well-Educated Heart Academy and another online classes for a grade, okay, are finding a lot more joy and motivation in participating in the non-graded classes than those with extrinsic motivators. With the right parent, teacher, student partnership, it's an incredible experience. Okay. I really think that is so true, really. You know, in these classes, okay, sometimes when the students are engaged and we are onto it and making progress, time flies, okay. I am really glad that the 1 hour class includes this second hour because it gives me some buffer time to keep going with the topics, because sometimes the students keep asking questions and everything and they just want to keep going, okay? So I said, hey, the time is gone. Do you want to keep going? And they're like, yeah, of course, you know. So this is fascinating. It's fantastic. Let me get Jana here for a second, Jewel. Hold on a second. Yes, Jana?
I couldn't find the raise hand thing. It's like, I don't know where it disappeared to on my computer. I was wondering, is there a trial period? Renee mentioned that last year you did a trial period, but she doesn't remember how long it was.
Yes, so last year I did a trial period. Okay, I am a little hesitant to do that. Okay, so I don't know. We are going to have another meeting where we are going to talk about how when we finalize the platform and start creating the plans and the courses for next year, I'm going to share how we are going to do the enrollments and so on. And you know, because of that, I don't know that the trial period is going to be very beneficial. Okay, so for most of the students, the trial period didn't make any difference really on their decision, you know, so whether to continue or not. So for example, you know, I mentioned that there was a 26% attrition rate, that some students drop out of the courses and everything. Almost all of them drop out after the trial period. Okay, so it wasn't really that the trial period was any decision-making thing. Does that make sense? Okay, so that is kind of why I'm hesitant to do it. Yeah.
The only reason I was asking is because I have a child who is just loving the American history. So this might be a question for Roel. Is his like Story of Liberty class going to be directed for that middle school, high school, or is it going to be really more high school?
That's a question for me.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, you know what? I'm used to teaching middle school and high school together right now. I've done it separately, but I teach them together, and I'm careful if we're going to do, if there are middle schoolers involved, we may not get into maybe some of the more graphic things that happen in history, and you don't really need to, frankly. So yeah, I'm willing to work with both. We can create a mixed class. I mean, that's what we're doing right now, Dr. Pablo, right? Is basically, if younger kids want to get involved, I will adapt it so that the parents are at peace and the kids absolutely, and I'm going to say absolutely, love the live classes. We have such a good time and we learn a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Yes. Mm-hmm. There is also a question here. Will a list of books for the courses be posted so we can look at samples online to gauge whether or not to enroll in any of the classes? Yes. So when we start creating the course descriptions and the enrollment plans and everything for next school year, they will include the required reading materials. Okay. Yep. So, and again, in our courses, we try to focus on classical books or books that are really well written and they are economical. So like, for example, for the geometry, for the biology course, the textbook that we are using is a modern textbook, but it's very, very economical. Mm-hmm. All right. Let me see. I have a couple more questions here in the chat. Andrea is asking, will there be a way to see the ages of the kids enrolled, mainly for the purpose of ensuring I do not enroll my 16-year-old in a class with mostly middle schoolers? No, that is not appropriate as far as privacy goes. Okay, so we cannot divulge the age of the students. I don't gather that information to begin with. Okay, and so what I have done in my classes, and again, you have to remember, in my classes I have students that are in middle school, high school, and adults. Okay. And they all commune and work just fine. All right, and there's really not much difference in the ages. So what happens is, if you have a student that is more advanced, then what I do, if the student is willing, I give that student even more responsibilities to help teach the class, to help contribute to the class and help with other students to explain things and so on. So if the student is willing and is more advanced, then I help the student become a tutor and a mentor for the younger students. Okay, so I don't see that would be a problem, having older students with younger ones. But again, they have to be willing to do that, okay, to participate that way. Rule?
Yeah, I'm actually teaching a class right now. It's a general social studies class, and we go through a variety of topics. And there was a young man, very bright, accomplished concert pianist, wasn't sure if he wanted to be in a class with a bunch of 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds. Two of his siblings were in the class. He was kind of above all of that, and he would actually fall asleep the first few classes. This is what we were teaching in someone's home, or at least I say he would close his eyes, but he was not sleeping. He was listening. And now he's one of my biggest participants. We've got 12-year-olds that are debating him and holding their own on very important topics. So it's a matter again of helping students recognize that they like, if they are older, they are in a position to serve in leadership, to teach, and to also recognize that some of these younger kids are pretty stinking smart and capable and fun and so forth. And plus, with my class, we can't do it as much online, but when we do our field trips, we have a lot of food, right? Because it's very clear what it says in the Bible. It's by their food you shall know them. And I find that if there's food, 16-year-olds are happy. 18-year-olds are happy to hang out with 12-year-olds. They don't even care. It's really awesome.
I can attest to the quality and the quantity of food that Rule provides. That is awesome. Yeah. I have another comment here by Genevieve. It says, I had an older middle schooler this year enrolled with Dr. Pablo. Really makes it adaptable to the students, in my opinion, with the notes. Okay. In fact, the note taking is so compatible with a well-educated heart, and was the reason I decided to go ahead and enroll her. So that is actually very, very true. The assignments really are to take notes, and that the note taking and the quality and quantity of the notes depends solely on the student. Okay. And I give very encouraging feedback to the students in order to contribute their notes, to participate and to improve them. Okay, but all at their own level. And it is really fascinating to see the level and the difference in the different types of notes that the students turn in. And I share that in class with everyone else. Okay, so everyone is actually sharing and being able to see, oh, okay, so this is good. Okay, and you see something that may look a little bit, not very neat and esquiwampas and so on, but that is still acceptable. That is still good. And so it really encourages the students to be more open and more willing to participate and contribute. So I think that we are having a great time that way. Let me see, the stewards put, as far as the geometry class is concerned, it didn't seem like it made any difference what the age of the kids were. I love one of the lines of one of my favorite movies, Stand and Deliver. Okay, Mr. Escalante says, math is the great equalizer. That is the truth. Okay, so in geometry, we are all at the same level. We are all learning together, so that is true. Okay. So Andrea says, of course, he would just be upset with me if he had no peers or adults to work with. Okay. I think that everyone finds groups of other friends and groups of peers with which to get together and collaborate. So I don't see that is a problem. Okay. So yes, Mr. Rule is in Hawaii. Okay. And it's still daytime, and here we are suffering of the cold spells. So we need to send him some envy vibes.
Oh no! It's I'm fine with no frozen feet. This is so nice to be walking in flip flops. It's awesome.
That is awesome. Jana is asking, how are the notes taken? Okay. Would one of my students like to share how are the notes taken? How is the process of note taking? How does that go? Emma, how would you describe the process?
I think it's really up to the individual. For me, I like to have a picture of the construction that I'm doing. I do the geometry class, so I like to have a picture. So I like to draw it out, and then I just like to write out the proof. That's just what I like to do personally. And however you want to write out the proof, you can add color if you want or not. I think it's really open to however you want to write out your notes, however you like to do that.
Yes, Montserrat, how do you do your notes? I love the color in your notes. Let's see if we can.
I just found that I really like color in my notes because it helps me to distinguish. I take the geometry as well. And I was getting confused when it was labeling the angles or the figures, and the color really helped me. My son is also taking geometry, and his is very basic, but he's gotten better at taking taking the notes and adding more information. So it's helped him to learn how to do that better, especially as he prepares for college in a couple of years.
Yes, Naira is making great progress also. Her son is also in the class. Jessica, would you like to add anything more on your experience in note taking? Emma, go ahead.
Sorry, I just had something to add about note taking. Early on in the year, I had to have a one-on-one with you about that because I was freaking out. And I remember you said something along the lines of take notes so that someday you can look back and remember, or someday you could teach someone else, right? So whatever that means to you, write it down so that when you look back, you can remember what you learned, and so that it makes sense to you.
Could I share an example of that, Dr. Pablo? When Thomas Jefferson was in his 80s, when he was in his 80s and near his death, someone asked him a question about geometry. And he said, you know, mathematics was basically my first love. And I've been out of that world for 40 years. I've dedicated my life to government. I'm going to have to consult my commonplace books, my notes that I took when I was a boy. And he went and he found his notes so he could teach somebody about geometry. There you go.
Yeah. So that is the thing, you know, in my classes, okay, in our classes, we take notes, and I always tell the students, do it on a bound notebook, okay? I have allergies to loose pages because I don't want you to lose those things. And so the students take notes on their notebook, and then they take a picture of the notes, and then they post the whole, you know, the set of pictures, they put them into one document, a PDF document, and they share the notes with me, okay? So that is basically how we do it. Okay. Does that answer your question, Jenna? Yeah. Excellent. Good. So let's see another comment of the stewards. I love the style of these classes. I have been overseeing everything my son has done in the class. I plan on having Jared continue taking classes with you. Thank you for doing this. My pleasure, and I love having Jared in class. He is fantastic. Okay. Marcy, question for Dr. Rule. Okay. Rule, you got a doctoral degree here. Okay, so I'm having a really hard time deciding between all your amazing course descriptions. They are all things I am personally passionate about as well. I wonder if it's okay to ask which of the courses you yourself would be most thrilled to be able to teach. I just think it might help me decide. That is such an unfair question because
that is.
You want to do all of them. Oh, I hope we haven't lost a rule in the drive. Okay. So in fact, really, let me answer this for him. Okay. He really would like to do all 6 at the same time. I'm actually telling him.
What?
Yeah, go ahead and start over because you broke away for a second.
Okay, so basically, and then Story of Liberty, because I love basically from the biblical times all the way through current events, and we're kind of a world history focus, and then the 5,000-year lead with current events. So.
Can I see you?
No.
Yeah.
Does that help?
There's a.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, those would be then the top choices: the story of liberty and
Yes.
the one on the with the 5,000-year leap. Okay, the principles of liberty.
I think
Oh,
they're so applicable to what's
fascinating.
happening in our world today. That's why.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But yeah, it is really like asking which is your favorite child. It's not fair, really. All right, excellent. Well, let me share with you here. I'm going to put in the chat a link, okay, to a video, okay. This is part one of the field trip video that we have done on Saturday to the roots of knowledge. So my son he recorded everything, and he is putting together the parts, each part of the video. So, we are going, remember, Emma, how we did one panel at a time? Okay. So we are putting together a whole playlist of each panel, okay? And so it is really, really amazing. So we had such a good time on Saturday doing that field trip, really. And all the field trips that we have done are fantastic. So Genevieve says, so jealous of those who are local, and thanks for sharing. Yes, of course, we want to share more. And our goal is to be able to do more field trips at your, in your place, okay, going to you, okay. So that is kind of the idea, So if you want a local field trip in your area, communicate with me, and then we can decide on time, we can decide on where to go and everything, and then we'll try to make it happen. One of the great things that we have in the software that we are using is that it helps us see who are the other members in the network that are close to you. When you put the place where you live, where you are, then it helps you to see other people that are around your area, okay? And so that is something that we would love to do more and more often, okay? I know now you are back in the States, because if I remember correctly, you were in South Korea, okay? Yes. So Kiara started this course in South Korea. We have one student in South Korea, another one in Germany, and another one in Armenia. Okay.
And let me tell you that time change. When you guys do your bump it back, it went from 5 in the morning till 4 in the morning. That wasn't fun. But
I'm so sorry to do
still
that.
did it.
Amazing, really. She was very, very dedicated. Where are you now?
North Carolina.
Where are you located?
Not quite so bad now.
North Carolina. Okay, great. Okay, so we need to plan.
North Carolina, so.
So we need to plan a trip back east. I want to do another one, in the Pacific coast. Okay, so we want to do more of
I would love to do that as well. Just really quickly, look at the view here. Ready? Look how green it is. It's very nice in Utah, but it's green here.
Not fair at all. All right.
We'll have a field trip to Hawaii. This will be great.
Yeah, that will be the way to do it. Okay, excellent. Are there any other questions, comments, anything else that we can help you with? Anything else? Any other questions that you may have. All right, seeing none, at least for now, I'm going to stop the recording